All right, good evening, sergeants and corporals. I'm second platoon, first squad leader, Matteo, and today we'll be doing an analysis of the American and Chinese rifle squads. More specifically, we'll be comparing and contrasting the two. So the main objectives of this brief is to identify the constructs of both rifle squads. After that, we'll be able to understand the capabilities of each rifle squad, from which we'll identify similarities and differences of these squads. From there, we'll be able to understand the strengths and weaknesses of those squads. All right, so the organization of the basic Chinese rifle squad is a machine gun team and an anti-tank team. The three-man machine gun team is commanded by the squad leader, while the three-man anti-tank team is commanded by the assistant squad leader. When analyzing their weapon systems, we can see that it's very similar to ours. However, their main automatic rifle is the QBZ-95, chambered at 5.8 by 42 millimeters. Two of these rifles will be attached with the QLG-10 grenade launcher, which is chambered at 35 millimeters, which is a little bit smaller than our 40 millimeter M203 or M320 grenade launchers. Now, you may have seen that in the three-man machine gun team, there's a sniper or designated marksman. This designated marksman has a modified QBZ-95, which is the QBU-88. The light machine gun in the machine gun team is the QJY-88, calibered the same as the QBZ-95. Now, in terms of heavy machine gun, this heavy machine gun is attached to this squad's platform. I'll get into that in a second. The DZJ-08 is the equivalent of our AT-4, and the Grenadier carries that along with the QSZ-92 sidearm, which has a 9 by 19 millimeter caliber. Now, what makes this squad a little different is that it's high mobility, the Chinese high mobility rifle squad. The platform of this squad is the CSK-141 lightly armored vehicle, which can be roughly equivalent to the American Humvee. This platform has the QJZ-89 heavy machine gun attached to it. It can also be detached and carried by the driver. I'm sure you're all familiar with the American Rifle Squad, but as a recap, it's divided into an Alpha and Bravo team with two team leaders. A squad leader commands the entire element. Both teams have a Grenadier, automatic rifleman, and designated rifleman/marksman. When comparing the two, the first thing one may notice is the platform. So the Chinese High Mobility Rifle Squad has a required platform. All Chinese high mobility squads have this platform. The American Rifle Squad can be paired with an ICV striker that has roughly the same caliber weapons as those found on the CSK-141. Also, we do not have an assistant squad leader. We have our team leaders. And these differences lead into the major strengths and weaknesses that are present in both of them. So the three major strengths and weaknesses have to do with firepower, mobility, and command and control. Starting with firepower, the main weapons of the Chinese Rifle Squad has a slightly higher caliber than those of the American Rifle Squad, giving them a bit more firepower. However, when you look at all grenade launchers, they do fire a slightly lower caliber of grenade than ours, but this is a very small difference between the two. In terms of mobility, the required platform of the Chinese High Mobility Rifle Squad makes this squad slightly, or depending on the terrain, can make it less maneuverable. If it's severely restricted or restricted terrain, this squad is going to have a hard time getting around compared to the American Rifle Squad, which can be attached or detached to an ICV striker. Perhaps the biggest strength and or weakness between these two squads is their command structure. The Chinese Rifle Squad has a centralized command structure with a squad leader and an assistant squad leader. The American Rifle Squad has a decentralized command structure with a squad leader and two team leaders. This means in a combat situation, if a member of the chain of command is neutralized the squad can still operate or have an easier time doing so. That is the American Rifle Squad that would have an easier time doing so. So, aside from the slight differences, the major strengths and weaknesses of these squads is firepower, which belongs to China. They have a strength in that. Mobility, which can go to either or depending on the terrain, and command structure, which is a major strength for the American Rifle Squad. So as we've learned here today, we were able to identify the constructs of both the American and Chinese Rifle Squad. We were able to understand the capabilities of both of these rifle squads, and from there we were able, to identify the similarities and differences between these two squads, from which we drew major strengths and weaknesses. This concludes my brief. Stick around for questions afterwards. Other than that, dismissed.